I want to give you some tools that will help you make some right choices to keep you on track while you're dining out, because it's really easy to get way off track, and many people dine out. I've heard a stat that most Americans dine out 4.5 times a week. And when you consider the fact that often when you're eating out in restaurants, you are taking in about twice the calories that you would be taking in if you had made the same meal at home. And a lot of that is because they use a lot of extra fats to flavor and season the food. They will typically use cheaper oils than you might use at home. I know one steakhouse here in town has to, they don't have to, but they do. They use bacon grease, and they just layer it over their steaks. It's amazing, but when you think about the fact that that's probably a pretty fatty piece of meat to begin with, layered in bacon grease. So consider that fact that every time you eat out, you're taking in more calories than if you had made the same meal at home. Plus, more likely you're going to get foods that would increase inflammation in the body, because they're probably not paying as close attention to the quality of the food that you might at home, especially if you're somebody that's being conscientious about your nutrition, okay? So what I want to preface it with is think about making your choices ahead of time. If you know you're going out to dinner on Friday night, number one, make Friday night, make that meal your off-plan meal, which means you just need to make sure that you're eating well the rest of the week, because one off-plan meal is not going to ruin the whole show. In fact, having an off-plan meal is pretty good for your metabolism, because it kind of resets and lets your body know that there's not going to be a famine in the land, and that you will get some higher fat foods and some more indulgent meals, and it doesn't have to freak out. So if you have the opportunity to look ahead for these meals, just plan the other meals around it. Plan to do really well the rest of the week, and consider that your cheat meal or your off-plan meal. So there's this. The other thing is, when you know you're going to have that meal, if you know the restaurant you're going to in advance, think about making a choice about what you're going to have, even if you don't know the specific meal that that particular restaurant serves. But when you can make a choice ahead of time, it really helps you to kind of squelch that thing where you get down and you sit with your friends, and your friends are all ordering French fries and burgers and milkshakes, and you're just like, well, I might as well do that too. You can make a choice ahead of time to say, yeah, we're going out to lunch. I already kind of had an off-plan meal this week, so I'm going to make sure I order a salad and chicken. Or have that decision made ahead of time, because when you're in the moment and people are making all these choices and you're having a good time and you're just not thinking about it, when we're not mindful that we tend to run off the rails, and sometimes we run off a little far. So think about making your choice to either let this be your free, crazy, off-plan meal, or make a choice to do the best that you can do in that situation. Another option is, if you're going to a restaurant that you know has like very few good choices for you, maybe, but yet you want to go and you want to dine out with friends for the social factor, consider having a snack or a small healthy meal before, which I know sounds kind of counterproductive, but if you can do that and maybe eat about an hour and a half before, and then just plan, make a choice to just have a salad or appetizer or soup when you go out with your friends, so that you're already satisfied, you've filled yourself with the good foods ahead of time. You can also, drink a lot of water ahead of time to kind of fill your stomach, so that you don't feel like really hungry while you're there. And this is not a matter of starving yourself at all. It's a matter of being able to go and enjoy the meal with your friends, but then as well as sticking to your parameters that you have chosen for yourself. And again, I go back to the word choice, because it's always a choice. So usually when you're going to go out to lunch. Sometimes impromptu meals happen in the middle of the day, but usually when you're going to go out to lunch, and you can usually make a choice if I'm going to stick to it or I'm going to go off the rails today. And again, like I said, going off the rails, if it's a choice and you plan other things around your other meals around that, it's not a problem. The other thing you can do is you can look up the nutritional information of most restaurants, especially chains. I believe it's actually a requirement for the last several years that most chain restaurants have to have posted their nutritional facts about their meals. So you can go online to, let's say, Applebee's or Olive Garden, and you can look up the nutritional facts for their meals, so you can kind of decide if this meal is going to fit into the parameters of what you want for your goals. That's an excellent way to do it, because if you know Friday night you're going to Olive Garden and you can look up some of these things ahead and be a little educated, you can know, okay, I can't have half the basket of breadsticks. I think I'm going to stick with the soup and salad, and here's the soup that's the best choice for me. And don't look at it as deprivation. Look at it, this is the biggest piece, is the mindset that you have wrapped around it. If you can look at it as what you're doing for your body versus, well, I have to have a salad. And look at how much better you feel. Think about different meals that you've had that have been really heavy and you almost feel gross and full and bloated after the meal. Think about how well you're going to feel and how much closer to your goals you're going to be after that meal. Which reminds me of another point, is that revisit your why. Revisit your goal before you go out to these meals. Revisit your goal and revisit your why do you want that goal. Again, that'll make you more mindful of your choices, and it will remind you, because your goal, your reason why you want that goal, is the thing that's going to keep you on track when you are confronted with choices and difficult decisions, okay? So, or even when you're confronted with obstacles or struggles, it's going back to that strong reason why is going to be the thing that keeps you on track. So now I want to give you a few tips of different kinds of restaurants to that you might go to, and the things that you would target when you're in those restaurants, the kind of meals that you might go for. So those of you that are in my private membership group, I'm going to be posting a kind of a cheat sheet for you, a fast food cheat sheet on the website. So I will let you know when I get that up. But just for those of you that need a little guide, I'm going to give you a little direction here. So when you're going to a fast food restaurant, if you have to go to McDonald's or Burger King or something like that, because you're on the road, and that's, you know, sometimes when you're with people, you have to kind of go at the mercy of where they want to go. You hate to be a little too picky. So if you have to go to fast food, this would be an opportunity to, number one, many fast food restaurants are pretty close to a grocery store. So if you're on the road and your family wants to go to fast food, you could dash over to the grocery store and get something like a piece of baked chicken and a salad. But if you have to eat at the fast food restaurant, go with a salad or a sandwich and just throw out the bun. Many of the restaurants now, they're doing wraps where you can get your salad or your sandwich wrapped in lettuce. I know as Jimmy John's is like a deli. Now, all quality meat aside, I don't believe they use really quality meat at many of these restaurants. All that aside, you can get many of these sandwiches wrapped in lettuce, like Jimmy John's. I believe they call it an unwrap. There's what's the one? Subway. They'll make any of your sandwiches into a salad, and they come out pretty darn tasty. So consider leaving the bread aside. You could also, one thing you need to pay attention to though, when you order these salads at restaurants, you would be amazed how high the salt content is in these salads. So if you have an opportunity to pitch the croutons aside or some of the processed meats aside, I mean, the salt content is coming from lots of different little sources in there. I also recommend having the dressing on the side, same as a regular sit-down restaurant. Have your dressing on the side. Take your fork. This is a great little trick. So take your fork, poke it into the dressing, and then poke it into your salad, and you'll still get the flavor of the dressing. It might be slightly dry, but at least you're not drowning that salad in dressing, okay? At a Mexican restaurant, you can look for things like burrito bowls. You'd want to eliminate the rice, the chips, and the beans, of course. When you go to Qdoba, if any of you guys know about Qdoba, love that restaurant because you can go get what they call a naked burrito, and it's basically a burrito in a bowl. And you can ask them to cut way down on the beans and way down on the rice, or just cut it off altogether. You can add extra vegetables. So you can add lettuce and tomatoes and all. So basically it's a big salad in a bowl with meat. So in general, you want to be thinking in terms of when you're going to a restaurant, I want meat and vegetables, meat and vegetables. So that looks like soups, that looks like salads, that looks like wraps, things like that, or a plate of meat and vegetables. So at Qdoba, for example, the naked burrito, you could also in a Mexican restaurant order a fajita and do away with the tortilla and the rice and the beans. Because when you think about that, with a fajita, for example, you're getting a lot of meat, you're getting some sauteed vegetables. Keep in mind that those vegetables are often cooked in oils that are cheaper. So they're going to be inflammatory oils. You could also ask possibly if you can get those vegetables steamed, because then you know they're not sauteed in these oils. And oftentimes a restaurant will use way more oil than you might at home. But if you think about just the meat and the vegetables in a fajita, but then they give you a tortilla and rice and beans, that is a ton of starchy carbohydrate. So that's going to crank your blood sugar up. It's going to be difficult to digest on your gut, and it's probably going to throw you off the rails for what your goals might be. Okay, if you're eating at a steakhouse, that one's a little easier. Steak and vegetables. Go with the leanest cut of meat that you can get there. Steak and vegetables. Good idea to order those vegetables on the side with no butter. And I know that sounds like, oh, what's the point? Ask for butter on the side as well. Usually you'll find in a restaurant, they'll way over butter the vegetables as well. So if you can get those vegetables steamed versus sauteed, because again, when they're sauteing in oils and a lot of butter. So steamed vegetables is an option for a side, go for that. Asian, when you're eating at Asian restaurants, stir fries with no rice is an option. Did you know that one serving of rice is a quarter cup? It's like about the size of my pinky, just about. So it's barely worth it. Yet, in a restaurant, they give you a whole half a plate of rice. So that's, I don't know, that's probably like 5 servings of rice at least. So consider the portion sizes that you're getting at these restaurants way bigger than you probably should be eating. So another option is to cut those servings in half, ask for a to-go container to begin with, and eat half of the serving. Scrape half of your serving into the to-go container and set it aside, and eat half of what's on your plate, because in most cases, they're serving almost double of what you need. So my husband and I went out last night on kind of a quick little date, and the whole meal was, I had a dish that was chicken with a piece of pineapple on top. By the way, those of you that are local, Panhandler Pies now is serving hormone antibiotic-free chicken. So I was very happy to hear that. So I ordered chicken with a pineapple on top and a salad. And it came with a choice of, a side of like potatoes, rice, or a vegetable. And it came with cornbread. And I mean, it's just so much food. So when you think about that, just because it's in front of you doesn't mean you have to eat it. Save half of it for later, or even a portion of it. Save it as a snack for later, okay? So consider that. So a couple other little tips for you there. Again, dressings on the side. Usually a vinaigrette type of dressing, or just an olive oil and vinegar brought to the table with a little salt and pepper makes a great dressing, because then you can control how much dressing is on it. Consider dipping your fork into the dressing and then eating. Then dipping it into your salad and then eating. Go for grilled or steamed chicken or fish versus crunchy or crispy. When you see on a menu that it's crunchy or crispy chicken on a salad, for example, it's going to mean that it's battered and fried. So right there, of course, it's fried in oils that aren't usually as healthy for you. And these are mainstream restaurants I'm talking about. I'm sure that we all have local restaurants that have a lot more quality food, but consider that. Go for grilled or steamed fish or chicken, and stay away from the crunchy or crispy. Order a side of vegetables in place of potatoes or rice or beans or French fries. And consider it with no butter, so that you can add your own butter and seasonings, because like I said, they tend to over butter the veggies. Ask for a smaller portion. So last night, for example, there was an option for a full meal or a smaller portion meal. And the smaller portion meal was plenty for me. It was a piece of chicken about the size of the palm of my hand. I don't know what the large portion was, but this was plenty of food. So, and then consider this is something my husband and I do often, is we will say we go to a place that has like a really good burger, just like a really good quality burger. And we both think, oh, that sounds really good. I'd like a burger, but I don't really, neither of us would really eat a whole burger. Well, he might, but so we would then, one of us would order a big salad and one would order a burger, and we would split it. And that way we get the taste of that food that we might not normally eat a lot of, but it sounds really good and it's a quality burger. And then we also get the salads. And we try to order salads that have spinach or kale or dark leafy greens. Often in restaurants you will have what's the iceberg lettuce, which doesn't have very many nutrients in it. So if you can go with the salads that offer you a darker, leafier green, you're going to get a little more nutrient and all of that. So those are some options for you when you're dining out.